To call the September 12th Kankakee County Board meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please? You know what I think we should do first? Is we should probably do the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. So let's do the invocation first. Today is Mr. Byrne.
As we remember the tragic events of 9/11, let's bow our heads for a moment of silence. Remember all those who lost their lives in New York, Washington, Pennsylvania. Also remember all those who serve and have given us so much to be thankful for in the armed forces and all first responders. Thank you.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So what do you think? Roll call? That's probably a good idea. Thank you.
Present.
Mr. Washington.
Present.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Present.
Mr. Vickery.
Present.
Mr. Olthoff.
Present.
Mr. Hess.
Present.
Mr. Tholen. Mrs. Polk.
Present.
Mr. McConnell.
Present.
Mr. Mulcahy.
Present.
Mr. Scott.
Present.
Mr. Snipes.
Present.
Mr. Byrne.
Present.
Mr. Seroy.
Present.
Mr. Lear.
Present.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Present.
Mrs. Weber.
Present.
Mr. Einfeld.
Present.
Mrs. Peters.
Present.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Present.
Mrs. Parker.
Present.
Ms. Dunbar.
Present.
Mr. Ritter.
Present.
Mr. Wheeler.
Present. Okay, we have a quorum. Under public commentary, I have one Michael Pammer. Please take the microphone in the corner, please.
Is it on? Oh, okay. Sorry. Hello, everybody. I think it's the first time I ever addressed a full county board meeting, and thank you. I just want to say also, maybe we could keep in our thoughts the disaster victims in Texas and Florida, both 2 legs and 4 legs, that are, you know, going to have a rough time over the next few months. So thank you on that. But I also wanted to say that I never grew up in Kankakee County. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I just moved here in 2008. And so, not being familiar, not being a long-time citizen, when I told people I moved out to Bourbonnais, they'd say, "Where?" And I say, "Oh," and they say, "Oh, that's where the Bears practice now." And I said, "Yeah, it's in Kankakee County." And people would say, "Oh, you know, Kankakee County, yeah, they got a nice river out there." And that's all I would hear them say about Kankakee County. They wouldn't know much about it. But now I'm happy to say, so I've been out here for some 9 years now, and I'm proud of living out here in Kankakee County. I'd have to say that now that there's new representative leadership on the county board and new representative board members, I think there's a breath of fresh air that I could go back and tell people that what Kankakee County is about. And from everything from Mr. Wheeler as chairman, our state's attorney. I hear nothing but praise about our state's attorney, and like the page this county seems to have turned.
We're friends. That's why he's saying that.
Yeah, buy me a drink afterwards. But anyway, and I know most of you don't know me on the board at all. I know a few members here, but also I see on the agenda about this Animal Advisory Board, and I know most of the members there. And it's when community members feel comfortable and free to step forward and speak what's good, what's bad about the county, and the representative leadership listens to that. And whether they're new representatives or old representatives with maybe looking at things with fresh eyes and new ideas, I just want to thank you for just the things that seem to be moving forward. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We don't have any communications, presentations. We have a proclamation in recognition of the Kankakee County Veterans Treatment Court. If we could, Mr. Clark, please read that into the record.
Proclamation of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois. Whereas the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts, AOIC, conducted an on-site visit of the Kankakee County Veterans Treatment Court, VTC, in May of 2017 and interviewed every member of the VTC team to ensure compliance with the Illinois Supreme Court problem-solving court standard. And whereas AOIC reviewed all of the VTC's policies, procedures, and supporting materials, and whereas after conducting its review of the entire Veterans Treatment Court program, AOIC made its recommendation for certification to the Illinois Supreme Court. Whereas the Illinois Supreme Court has agreed with the AOIC recommendation and certified the Kankakee County Veterans Treatment Court for a period of 3 years, and whereas the superintendent of the Veterans Assistance Commission has confirmed with AOIC that the Kankakee County Veterans Treatment Court is the first such court in the state to receive this certification. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Kankakee County Board that it recognizes and congratulates the Veterans Treatment Court's team's hard work and dedication to providing an invaluable service to the veterans of Kankakee County, and further congratulates the team on being the first Veterans Treatment Court in the state of Illinois to receive certification from the Illinois Supreme Court. Be it further proclaimed by the Kankakee County Board that it wishes the Veterans Treatment Court continued success in its future endeavors in providing mental health, drug, and alcohol treatment programs to veterans within the criminal justice system. The committee recommends the adoption of this resolution here was submitted by Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Tripp, Mr. Legess, Mr. Hess, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Snipes, Mr. Byrne, Mr. Seroy, and Ms. Weber.
So I need a motion to approve. Mr. McConnell, second. Mr. Legess. Is there any other comment from the board? Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would encourage our board, if you haven't had a chance to go to one of these, to really make it an effort to go. It is really something to see some of these veterans and how they turn their life around and how our people here in the county have helped them. It's not just an easy trip. They really have to toe the line, and it's quite something to go to. I would encourage us that if you get time to go. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Lear?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The graduation ceremony is something that happens on an irregular basis, so you want to pay attention. You will receive notices by email when those graduation ceremonies are, and they are an experience that you will find both enlightening and inspiring.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah. I guess all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Mr. Roof, will you join me over here if I can give you a certificate?
This on? Okay. So first and foremost, since everybody brought it up, this Thursday, the 14th, there are 2 graduations, and that's going to be at the courthouse. I can't always tell you which room because sometimes they move the rooms on us according to the number of graduates and the number of people expected to come. Sometimes it's on the 3rd floor, sometimes it's on the 2nd. So 11:30 on Thursday we have 2 graduates. When we formed this team originally, it was under the direction of Judge Winselman back there. Judge Winselman State's Attorney Jamie Boyd, Public Defender Ed Glazier, probation with Tom Latham, Hope King, now under Jim Riedel, Karen Smetansky. You guys want to stand up as I say your names? Karen Smetansky is our Veteran Mentor Coordinator. Mr. Tafari is from the Corrections and the Sheriff's Department as our representative on the board now. Judge Kramer is our current board, sorry, not our board, our current judge representative. Jim Rowe's office with Jim Rowe, Marlo Jones, and Graham Quinn are our state's attorney's representatives. Robert Regas is our public defender currently, representative on the board. Then we have VA, Veterans Affairs, Veteran Justice Outreach Specialist, Tony Wilson. He's not here today. And who am I forgetting? Anybody? No. But under everybody's direction and guidance, we've been able to put together a great foundation of what makes a Veterans Treatment Court a solid team. This certification, being the first in the state of Illinois, is not anything really to sneeze at, because we started in 2013 under Judge Winselman, and we went and did some training. Well, there's courts that have been going on before us and still don't have their certification. So because of our hard work of putting this together, we've been able to get it done a little quicker. The last thing, I'm forgetting someone in the works of putting it together. Judge Winselman got the KCC paralegal program involved in 2015 when we started redoing the bylaws and procedures. This all came about right before I started in my position. There was 3 gentlemen, Jim Wasser, John Fulton, and Roger Bean, met with Judge Winselman, Judge Tungate. I think that was the only 2 judges, correct, Judge? And they talked about forming this. So that's how this idea came about. Nationally, it started about 2008, 2009 in Buffalo, New York. But a lot of hard work, putting the foundation, and we hope to keep changing veterans' lives. To date, there's been 13. This week, there'll be 2 more, making it 15 veterans that we've been able to help make clean, sober, better veterans in our community, and hopefully keep out of the criminal system. Not that Jim needs any help finding more work, but I appreciate the board recognizing our team's efforts, past and present, and we'll keep making you proud. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Rowe reminded me some. We also have what's called mentors. None of them are here today, but mentors are much like AA sponsors. They're veterans who come to court almost every week, meet with their mentor, mentee, and help the veteran out. They meet him for coffee, talk to him on the phone, go out to lunch, have a chat, call them in an emergency if they need help, give them a ride to court if they need it, or help them out in a pinch. So those mentors have been another huge piece of the team. Thanks for reminding me of that. So thank you again.
Moving on to vacancy appointments. We have a kind of a tradition here that when a seat opens up, then we offer, if anybody wants to move around the room, the time is now. So if anybody doesn't like their neighbor, so we're going to find out. I always make that offer. So speak now, forever hold your peace. So moving on. He's sitting back in the back, yeah. So moving on, the first appointment for County Board District 6, it's to fill the remainder of a term. I put unexpired, that the correct term is a remainder of a term, and that both appointees that we're bringing forward have been interviewed, vetted. The Republican Party has the choice because they had, those vacancies were left of the party that they were. You know what I mean. We all met. We had a few interviews, and these were the recommendations that came forward from the party, and I concurred with those recommendations. So the first one is David Duda to fill County Board District 6 the remainder of the term. So I would need a motion to approve. Mr. Vickery, second. Mr. Byrne. And his qualifications I included in there because he had submitted a resume if anybody had a chance to look that over. So if there was any questions, that being said, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Duda. And if you would, please rise over here and take the oath of office with Mr. Clark. You want to do it on the mic?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dave Duda,
Having been appointed to the office of County Board Member,
having been appointed to the office of County Board Member,
District 6,
District 6,
in the County of Kankakee,
in the County of Kankakee,
in the State of Illinois,
in the State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the
of
duties
the office of County Board Member District 6
of the office of County Board Member District 6
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities. Thank you, sir.
And for those that don't know, Mr. Duda is a retired COO of Riverside, so he's going to bring a lot to the board. This, you will notice, I'll mention it now, we've redone some committees based on fitting these gentlemen into the committees. But after this meeting, if you want to come upstairs, we can have a short meet and greet and say hello and all that kind of stuff. So once they get done signing the paperwork, we'll move on.
Isn't there something on here for Lori's fees?
No, because it didn't get brought back yet. It's got to go back to the committee. Alrighty, moving on. The next appointment was for the unexpired term for County Board District 20, and that gentleman is Ron Kinzinger. So I would need a motion to approve. Mr. Tripp, second. Mr. Olthoff. If those don't know Ron, you can obviously meet him later, but he's long career here as a business owner in the county. Very good credentials on joining this board, especially on the zoning side of things and the finance side of things. So we have two strong candidates that came and joined the board to add to what we're doing here. So I have a motion and a second. Mr. Snipes.
Kinzinger, that's Judge Kinzinger?
I'm sorry?
Is this kin
I'm microphone. I'm sorry, I can't.
Is this kin to Judge Kinzinger? I
Judge?
just know the last name.
Not sure.
Oh,
Maybe we'll
okay.
find that out. It's Kinzinger, so I don't know if it's. I believe Adams' his nephew, but we can clarify that. Yeah, the congressman. So, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Congratulations. Please join us up front.
Okay, you're going to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ronald Kinzinger,
Having been appointed to the office of County Board Member,
having been appointed to the office of County Board Member,
District 20,
District 20,
in and for the County of Kankakee,
in and for the County of
in the
Kankakee
State of Illinois,
and the State of Illinois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of County Board Member District 20
of the office of County Board Member District 20
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations to both of you, and thank you very much for devoting the time and your talents towards this board. Unfortunately, the only seat left is Mr. Olthoff, right next to him. The abuse. All righty, moving on. Going on to certificates of recognition. I have 10 years with Kathy Ebert in the health department. Kathy not here. Dana Pippin, 10 years in the health department. I have Carmen Lewis, 15 years in the public defender's office. Carmen? Service. Congratulations. I have 25 years in the Sheriff's Department. Dwana Mallet, not here. And 40 years in the Highway Department. Richard, is it Deeney Jr.? Got it correct. Hey, congratulations. Let me turn your mic on real quick.
It's on already. Get close, get in the picture.
It's on.
Yep. Rick Deeney has been a member of the staff, obviously, for 40 years. He's been through, 3 county engineers now. He's the guy that gets the phone calls 24 hours a day. He can't go back to sleep at night, and I don't think he sleeps much in the winter. But thank you, Rick, for your service. I very much appreciate you being part of the staff and many more years. Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the minutes of the last meeting, August 8th, 2017. I need a motion to approve. Mr. Olthoff, second, Ms. Parker. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. The Claims Committee report. Need a motion to approve. Mr. Vickery, second, Mr. Washington. Can we read those into the record, please?
July 31st, 2017. Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board, your Committee on County Claims would beg leave to report that they have examined the following claims presented and recommended payment. The clerk is hereby authorized and directed to issue orders to the several claimants payable out of the funds as follows. For the general fund, $2,417,542.32. All other funds, $4,765,794.11. For a total of month of July 2017, $7,183,336.43. For the highway fund, $177,571.73. All other funds, $2,136,623.95. For the total for the month of July of $2,314,195.68. All of which is respectfully submitted by Mr. Legess, Mr. Payton, Mr. Hess, Mr. Seroy, Mr. Washington, Mr. Vickery, Ms. Weber, and Mr. Wheeler.
Roll call vote, please. Sorry, I was in the middle of water.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington. Aye. Mr. Legess. Aye. Mr. Stauffenberg. Aye. Mr. Vickery. Aye. Mr. Olthoff. Aye. Mr. Hess. Aye. Mr. Tholen is absent. Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell. Aye. Mr. Mulcahy. Aye. Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Einfeld.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar. Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Duda,
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger, Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. The department reports. I need a motion to combine and accept the reports. Ms. Peters, second. Ms. Dunbar, if we could read that into the record, please.
The County Collector's Monthly Report. We have examined the July 31st, 2017 monthly report of the ex officio County Collector, and to the best of our knowledge, found it to be true and correct. Total cash in banks and investments of $18,421,473.15. The County Treasurer's Monthly Report. We have examined the July 31st, 2017 monthly report of the County Treasurer, and to the best of our knowledge, found it to be true and correct. Total checking accounts cash $9,709,043.95. General fund a deficit of $5,833,770.94. The coroner's report for June and July. In June, there were total calls of 98, 14 coroner cases, 10 autopsies, 10 toxicology, 3 outside autopsies, 3 x-rays, and 57 cremations, 1 incomplete. Or for July, for the coroner, there were 91 calls, 19 coroner cases, 11 autopsies, 11 toxicology, 2 x-rays, 10 cremations, and 3 incomplete. The coroner's summary of June income, there were $2,381 collected. The July income for the coroner is $1,165. The circuit clerk's report for July 2017, for June 2017, fees of dispersed of $438,688.25. The circuit clerk's report for July 2017, dispersed fees of $370,567.12. The recorder's monthly report for July 2017, disbursements to the county treasurer of $141,071.82. The county clerk's report for the month of July 2017, total fees of $22,879.11. The animal control report for the month of July 2017, there were $39,868 in fees collected, $124.95 in the IPTIP building fund, and there were 82 animals handled. The monthly resolution list for September 2017 from the county trustee is placed on file.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the committee presentations and resolutions, the consent agenda. Is there anything we need to pull off the consent agenda for consideration? Mr. McConnell?
Mr. I just have a question on 118.
All right.
About the preservation of the WJE Associates.
Yes.
Was there anybody locally, architects locally, that couldn't do that? Or is that a
We'll have to
specialized-
pull it off and discuss. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
118.
So we're pulling 118 off. Ms. Evans?
Again, mine is more of a question as well. 109 to 117. I know who 16 and 17 are. I just wondered if there was a discussion or something, just to say who the people are that we're appointing, if they're just, general citizens, if they have roles in the animal world.
I guess it's a little bit irregular, but I guess I'll answer the question. Those candidates were fully vetted by a subcommittee of the Community Services Committee and then the full Community Services Committee, and they reviewed the recommendation or reviewed the credentials and recommended it to the full board.
Thank you.
So just 118. Any others to pull off? All righty. Then I guess, let me make sure here. I guess I need a motion to combine and approve. Mr. Washington, second. Mr. Seroy. That will be a roll call vote, please.
You had to read them into the record.
Oh, we got to read them in the record first.
The resolutions of the county board, 106, the declaration and disposal of a surplus and unwanted vehicle for the Kankakee County Probation Department. The declaration and disposal of a surplus and unwanted vehicle for the Kankakee County Sheriff's Department. The declaration of Highway Department equipment as surplus property. The appointment of Dr. Andy A. Wegner, veterinarian, to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee. The appointment of Dawn M. Tutt to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Jennifer Kashimaki to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Jamie Jamnick to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Karen Hemza to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Kathleen A. Voss to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Dina Raymond to the Kankakee County Animal Welfare Advisory Committee as a member at large. The appointment of Alice Tinker Parker to the Kankakee County Welfare Advisory Committee as a chairperson. And the appointment of Elizabeth Dunbar to the Kankakee County Welfare Advisory Committee as a vice chairperson. The declaration and disposal of 21 show bus radios as surplus property. The appointment of Dr. K. Sarita C. Jones to the Kankakee County Board of Health. An update to the expense reimbursement section of the Kankakee County Handbook.
All righty. Now it's time for the roll call vote.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Stauffenberg. Mr. Vickery. Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess. Mrs. Polk. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Mulcahy. Mr. Scott. Mr. Snipes. Mr. Byrne. Mr. Seroy. Mr. Lear. Mr. Hildebrand. Mrs. Weber. Mr. Einfeld. Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton. Mrs. Parker. Ms. Dunbar. Mr. Ritter. Mr. Duda. Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler.
Mr. Chairman, do I have the right to abstain? My vote would not be based on a common preparation.
You have the right to abstain.
You have the right of this, but yeah, the chair has to be the one to, you have the right, and I can grant that if you're uncomfortable voting this time. Yep. But it is in the county code that every board member has to vote. The chairman can allow someone to abstain if they have a conflict. I can, unless there's really no other reason, this first time, there's no basis of history of what the business is that they're voting on, because they weren't at any of the committee meetings. So I don't see, I think it's entirely proper.
I think we need to read all of this 118.
So 118, we'll just read the title in to the record, just the top before, and then we can have a discussion. I'll ask Michelle Sadler to explain that, please.
It's a resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, the authority for the county board chairman to sign agreement between Kankakee County Historic Preservation Commission and WJE Associates Incorporated Consultant for the Kankakee County's intensive level historic and architectural survey of Pilot Township under the 2017 CLG grant.
Mr. McConnell,
Thank you,
please
Mr.
restate your question.
Well, I was just wondering, they're from Oak Brook. If we didn't have an architect here in the county, or is this a very specific thing that they do that we don't have anybody here in the county can do?
It is a very specific thing. And they worked on our historic preservation plan.
Mr. Hess.
Don't we need a motion to approve before we can discuss? No.
Yeah, we probably should get a motion to approve first. You're correct. So I need a motion to approve, Mr. Olthoff. Second, Mr. Einfeld. Please finish. Thank you. Thanks, Bones.
They did work on our historic preservation plan, so it's in conjunction with that to keep moving forward with our surveys.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
In case anyone was wondering, we checked before the meeting. This was in kind. This was not us spending money. So that was a question that came up at the same time. Ms. Dunbar?
$21,700.
In kind.
I would just note that I work for Carlisle Architects, and we did a similar survey for the Downtown Historic District, and we are local.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? That can be, I guess, let's do roll call just to make sure we're covered. Roll call, please.
So we do have a local person there?
Mr. Tripp?
Aye.
Mr. Washington?
Aye.
Mr. Lejas? I'm sorry, Mr. Lejas? Mr. Stauffenberg?
Aye.
Mr. Vickery?
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff? Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Tholen is absent. Mrs. Polk? Mr. McConnell? Sir?
No.
Mr. Mulcahy?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Snipes?
Aye.
Mr. Byrne?
Aye.
Mr. Seroy?
Aye.
Mr. Lear?
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand?
Aye.
Mrs. Weber?
Aye.
Mr. Einfeld?
Aye.
Mrs. Peters?
Aye.
Mrs. Evans? Mr. Payton?
Aye.
Mrs. Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Dunbar?
Nay.
Mr. Ritter?
Nay.
Mr. Duda? Mr. Kinziger? Mr. Wheeler?
Aye. Motion carries. All right. Moving on to highway and buildings, this concurring resolution was the one that was just approved for the overlay. Wait a minute.
This is a different one.
Oh, hold on a minute. I'm sorry. Let me read this again because it just says concurring resolution. Let me see here.
Skelger asked me what's this one in.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I got it mixed up. So yeah, if we could please, I need a motion to approve. Mr. Vickery, second. Mr. Byrne, please read that in the record.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois. Whereas on August 10, 2017, a bid was received and opened in the Committee on Public Highways and Buildings of the Kankakee County Board, meant to consider the bid for the public highway improvement now coming under the jurisdiction of the Kankakee County Board. Whereas the said committee determined that the following qualified bidder submitted the low bid as listed below for the work herein described and did award the bid subject to the confirmation of this county board. Whereas the said committee recommends that the confirmation and award of the contract be as follows. The bidder at Gallagher Asphalt Corporation in the amount of $246,000. Be it further resolved that the Kankakee County Board confirms the award of the foregoing contracts heretofore awarded by the Committee on Public Highways and Buildings contingent on IDOT approval and subject to the confirmation hereby enacted. The committee recommends the adoption of this resolution herewith submitted by Mr. McConnell, Mr. Tripp, Mr. Lejas, Mr. Stauffenberg, Mrs. Polk, Mr. Mulcahy, Ms. Weber, Ms. Peters, Ms. Parker, Mr. Ritter, and Mr. Wheeler.
We have a motion and a second. If we can get a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Lejas.
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk.
Aye.
Mr. McConnell. Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Einfeld.
Aye.
Mrs. Peters.
Aye.
Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker. Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Duda.
Aye.
Mr. Kinziger. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on. The next concurring resolution is for the parking lot resurface that we opened the bid for just before this meeting. So I do need a motion to approve. Mr. Lejas, second. Mr. Washington. If we could read the title of that into record, just so we are able to.
It's a resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Resolution 2017-9123 for the Century Asphalt and Construction in the amount of $15,142.
So I have a motion and a second, so I guess I need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tripp,
Aye.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Legess, Mr. Stauffenberg, Mr. Vickery,
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff, Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Mulcahy,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Seroy,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber, Mr. Einfeld,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters, Mrs. Evans, Mr. Payton,
Aye.
Mrs. Parker, Mrs. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Duda, Mr. Kinziger, Mr. Wheeler.
Aye, motion carries.
Did you read in the
Pardon?
Did you read in the
Yeah.
Moving on to the lease of the copy machines to the Sheriff's Department. I need a motion to waive the reading and approve. Now, I will mention this will be approval upon the review and approval of the contract agreement from the State's Attorney's Office. So that's the way the motion would read. Ms. Dunbar, Mr. Stauffenberg, if we could just read basically the title
Of
of
the
the
copy
record.
machines.
Yeah.
Resolution of the County Board of Kankakee County, Illinois, Resolution 2017-912-124. It's a lease of copy machines to the Sheriff's Department.
We have the agreement in front of us, but not the full contract, so that's why we're just going to take care of it now, and if there's any issues, we'll clean that up. So we have a motion and a second. If we could get a roll call, please.
Mr. Tripp,
Aye.
Mr. Washington,
Aye.
Mr. Legess,
Aye.
Mr. Stauffenberg,
Aye.
Mr. Vickery,
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff,
Aye.
Mr. Hess,
Aye.
Mrs. Polk, Mr. McConnell, Mr. Mulcahy,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Mr. Snipes,
Aye.
Mr. Byrne,
Aye.
Mr. Seroy,
Aye.
Mr. Lear,
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand,
Aye.
Mrs. Weber, Mr. Einfeld,
Aye.
Mrs. Peters, Mrs. Evans, Mr. Payton,
Aye.
Mrs. Parker, Ms. Dunbar,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mr. Duda, Mr. Kinziger, Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. Well, the final piece of the finance business will be the lease of 11 vehicles to the Sheriff's Department. This is well, I need a motion to approve. Mr. Payton, second. Mr. Hess. Just a brief explanation. We have a bid already in-house from Ford Motor Credit for 4.1% on the lease agreement. But we did receive on Friday an interested bidder, so we're going to ask that you approve the not to exceed number. What it is the new bidder that came in right at the end doesn't have our credit history yet. So they may not be an interested bidder once we go through the process of the official application. So, but we have to do that because in the interest of the taxpayers, we have to look for the lowest amount of money. So
4.9 is our rate right now.
it's 4.1, I believe. 4.1. So if we could read just the kind of the brief title in. Let him read the title and then we'll get right to that.
This is Resolution 2017-912-125. It's a lease purchase financing proposal for the County of Kankakee, a total amount finance of $457,257.56 for quarterly in advance of an APR of 4.1%, payment amount of $40,277.99.
Another point on this is that the sheriff has agreed that he is going to be paying a large portion of this. He's going to split it with us. So he has seizure funds. We had a conversation. We have another set of vehicles to get after this one because all of our vehicles are getting up in miles. So we're going to purchase another 11 down the road a year and a half from now. Same type of arrangement. The thing is we have to trade these in before they get over 70,000 miles. Because we get such a good deal on the purchase contract price that if we turn them back in, we can roll that money back into new vehicles. But if they go over 70 or 75,000, then they're devalued down to almost nothing. So we got to get back on that program because the maintenance will kill us. And I think we all know that. We talk about the cost of upkeep versus this program. So I just want to give a little background on that. So we have a good situation, a good arrangement. And so the board obviously will be allocating that, but we have some help there. So. Is there any questions about this? Mr. Olthoff, sorry. Okay, all right. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Thank you, Chairman. Does our financial position reflect in this 4.1? Is it a worse rate than what we would get if we were in a financial better position?
We would get if we were in a better financial position, we get a lot better rate.
Okay, because
Yeah.
4.1 is probably pretty standard. I mean, that's on the high side, I would think.
Right. We got a good deal, I think, based on where we're at. But
True,
it's still a
true.
little bit higher than what it would be as if we were.
Thank you.
Mr. Snipes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I appreciate, and I'm certainly, the 4.1 being a local bidder is plausible, and I know we don't discriminate as to the lowest responsible bidder. But my conscience scratches my intellect as to whether the subliminal or ghost bidder is a local individual or are they outside of our county?
PNC Bank.
Oh, okay.
They're national. So
Good
Ford
enough.
Motor Credit is national.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and that just showed up Friday afternoon. So we have to at least submit the form, due diligence.
But maybe they're
Yeah.
in the good graces.
You never know. Any other questions? All righty. Well then, moving on, we need a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Tripp.
Aye.
Make me use it.
Mr. Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Legess. Mr. Stauffenberg.
Aye.
Mr. Vickery.
Aye.
Mr. Olthoff. Mr. Hess.
Aye.
Mrs. Polk. Mr. McConnell. Mr. Mulcahy.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Snipes.
Aye.
Mr. Byrne.
Aye.
Mr. Seroy.
Aye.
Mr. Lear.
Aye.
Mr. Hildebrand.
Aye.
Mrs. Weber.
Aye.
Mr. Einfeld. Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Evans. Mr. Payton.
Aye.
Mrs. Parker. Ms. Dunbar.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mr. Duda.
Aye.
Mr. Kinzinger. Mr. Wheeler.
Aye. Motion carries. I did also want to mention there were two other bids that were sent out to national banks that were unresponded to. So we did go through the process of trying to find anybody we possibly could in the time allotted. So moving on, other business. I have one opening on the Kankakee County Board of Health. That is a county board appointment. 4 openings on the Kankakee County Regional Planning Commission. 3 openings on the River Conservancy District Board, Kankakee River. 1 opening on the Kankakee Township Fire Protection District Board. 1 opening on the Metro Board of Directors due to a resignation. So we're going to get those out there, bring them to executive at the end of the month. So obviously, if you know somebody, have them fill out the application, send them our way. Is there any old business? No old business? Under new business, obviously you've seen the committee assignments. Check those out. If you got any questions, let me know. We're starting to have trouble meeting a quorum in some of the committees. So we had to shift some things around, but I've talked to the main people that were moving and they know what's going on. So, Mr. Snipes?
Just FYI, I don't know how many of you all have attended the UCCI at the Abraham Lincoln Museum, but this year, I don't know if you're going or not, but I was informed that I am one of 2 guest speakers to speak at the UCCI Graduation and Leadership Academy on that day. So if you have nothing to do, just jump in your car and come on down to Springfield on October the 27th at 7 p.m. And everything is free for you all, except your hotel room.
We all know nothing's free.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere if somebody's got an itch.
Well, congratulations. That's an honor. Hey, Facebook Live it so we can all check it out. Get someone to stand over on the side. Yeah, don't make me use this thing. So with that, if there's no other business, Mr. Mulcahy with the motion to adjourn. Second, Mr. Legess. The Apprentice. All those in favor? Those opposed? Have a good day.